What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Fury here, and I have a very special character review for this week. This one on my favorite holy and majestic knight, Uriel. Yes, finally she is available in the cafe as well as in elite angel shards. So a lot of folks are going to be going out there finally to build their first, as like in finishing, or starting a second build, just to try out some interesting strategies. In this video, we're just going to be looking at the skill effects of one Uriel and what she brings to your team in PvP. So stay tuned everyone, because we're starting now.
I wanna be immortal, like a god in the sky. I wanna be a silk flower.
So here she is, finally in all of her majestic glory, Uriel. I was able to finally finish my second build and had a lot of opportunity to test her out with a lot of teams in my cluster. And now to anyone who is looking to build their own Uriel and continue in this commitment, I wanted to go through some of the skill abilities, kind of loadouts that we can put on our Uriel just to have her do the best in our PvP matchups. She's an interesting character, being from House Angel. She's kind of competing with Nephilim for a spot on your team, but as you all may know, Nephilim depends a lot on her passives. Uriel might have something to say about that. Plus, I also wanted to give a shout out here to Art Yuki, because all of the visuals on Uriel are absolutely beautiful. This is what makes this game incredible. All the eye-catching candy. You're just able to enjoy the animation, enjoy the voice acting, and enjoy the art put out by that department. So thank you very much, Yuki. So let's dive right in, guys. We want to look at her skill effects. You have the notepad here. It also breaks it down for you. But first, we're going to be looking at the active skill, God's Judgment. This skill here allows Uriel to target one enemy on the opposing side and stack one scar. This will be a little scar Belinus. So what it does when it visually attaches is floats around the enemy as one little mark, and as continuation of this skill, Uriel will then do 2 to 4, and this is random, instances of damage to that enemy. So she'll hit it once, and then RNG will decide if she hits it 2, 3, or 4 more times, each time doing 300% of her attack damage. When she uses this active skill, she also increases her own holy damage by 50%. In addition to all of this, she then has a 60% chance to stack one more Scar of Belinus onto enemies that already have a Scar of Belinus. So what Scar of Belinus does, and it's also written down here, is when one's floating around, it won't do anything, it just sits there. This is written up as a skill effect. So this mark here cannot be removed by baptism at the end of the round, can't be removed by purify on presets, and also cannot be removed by Vivian with her attacks. This is just going to sit there forever until the enemy girl dies. The only way to get around it is like Apate dying and then reviving. She'll come back with nothing. But you need that second Scar of Belinus to be attached to the enemy to then have a 100% chance to CC the target with the full trial of Belinus, as written here. If your girl has CC immunity, that will affect how this attaches. There could be the 10%, 30% chance, 50% chance, or like Esau and Jacob, 100% chance that the Scar will not attach. So you do need to watch out for that. Nothing affects, besides Uriel, how the individual small Scar attaches. But your CC immune value will affect the full larger trial once the two Scars connect and try to CC the enemy. What this does is it prevents the enemy from triggering their passive skills. So with Uriel, you're going to be punishing teams that are taking their passive skills for granted, specifically looking at Nephilim. It also stops Vivian's disruption, it stops how Kratos builds up her damage, stops the passive skills from Joan and Izanami with how they assist enemies, stops Fenrir from triggering her block procs, although she still blocks, and can also stop Rogue from doing that massive crit damage follow-up whenever she crits. So having your Uriels on a PvP squad is going to wreak havoc for your opponent, and you'll be seeing how they look here in the attached video. Moving on to her next skill here, God's Descent, are her passive buffs to herself. This allows her to increase her HP by 40%, her holy damage by 70%, her immune control by 30%, and damage reduction by 30%, making her an all-round, well-built warrior girl. And her own scaling of holy damage does show up a little bit here. Her skills on my end here, believe shows 70%, which is the base value, because I don't have a skin on her either. But holy damage is kind of interesting. When she deals her damage, so let's say she does a basic, an active skill, does 300% of attack damage, she will then do the additional holy percent damage, so 70% of her attack value. This amount will ignore armor, but still be affected by damage reduction and damage depletion. So definitely watch out for that. It doesn't take the full value here that you see, like the 300% attack. It's kind of a weak attribute. If you want to look at holy damage, you can kind of go with something else if you're looking to do more damage based on your attack as an attribute. But holy damage is not bad. It does ignore armor, but it's not something you really want to build around, and it's not very high scaling damage, since it's only going to take this flat amount and do that in addition to her regular attack. So I don't really like having holy damage on her as additional crystals and antiques, but the base is just fine. Having that immune control is very good, as right now we're not really in a CC meta, but you never know in the future. Being able to dodge, stunning, being petrified, as per se. And then damage reduction, once we go back into some bursty metas in the future, if you're facing rogues, Kratoses, even Jones, this damage reduction value does help a lot, especially with how we're kitting her out when we reach the antiques. Let's move over here now to the passive skill, God's Gaze. This one allows Uriel to target one enemy on the enemy team and deal 300% of attack, and then stack one Scar of Belinus on that target. So this is that 100%. She will stack that one mark on them. If they already have it, they can then combine into the Trial of Belinus, which then looks at the CC immunity on that target to then, do its RNG thing and decide if it's going to attach or not, thus stopping their passive skills from triggering. Now, this is all nice and wonderful. She's just doing single damage hits to all enemies with the active and the basic, but what really ties this all together on a single Uriel? Her last passive skill here, God's Punishment. This allows her to follow up with any time that she herself does an active skill or a basic skill and hit the entire enemy team with 400% of her attack. This passive ignores armor and in addition exerts 30% chance of stacking one Scar of Belinus. As you see here, I have the elite skills activated on this because it's just incredible, increasing the chances of, even though it's a little small, 5% of adding that extra Scar of Belinus onto enemy targets. This just is a flat 30 or 35% chance to put that Scar on everyone on the enemy's team. So while it may not be a high number, you're multiplying the 35% chance on 6 different targets, you're gonna get some every time. The elite skill also allows me to buff the damage she does to all enemy girls from 400 up to 440%. So of course, as a single copy of Uriel on your team, she's still gonna have an incredible opportunity to place these Scars of Belinus and Trials of Belinus on the enemy team, stopping their passive skills. You can see why having 2 Uriels then becomes a storm of Scars. Not to say less for having 3 or more. 2 makes these Scars more consistent, but of course she doesn't really scale and damage that much, and she doesn't have any self-healing potential. So having her on a team that supports her in those regards is what's going to make her real strong on your front 6. So let's look at the antiques and crystals that we want to have on Uriel for PvP. Going over here to the gear screen. For PvP, I have an interesting array, and I have the 2 Uriels to show. Right now I have this speed HP because I'm still collecting chisels. I just built my second. Speed HP seems to be a very solid one. Let's move over here real quick. This one's a Nebula core. Speed HP, just to stay ahead of your damage dealing girls. What I like about Uriel in this kind of configuration is that she can stay ahead of Joan and stay somewhat ahead of Kratos in some instances, just to seal targets in case they have like follow-up counterattacks, or if they want to try and stack a CC or taunt you like Amika. Your Uriel can stay ahead of that. Also, when you're deploying a Joan on your team, you want Uriel to be faster because then Joan does her follow-up and stacks one remnant on herself. When running Uriel with Vivians though, heal received and HP is very strong because, you know, your Vivians are going to be doing 25% healing with their totems. You have your presets that can also do some healing, and then if you're using Raphael, Uriel's going to benefit from this a lot. And that's something we want to have on our Uriel, since she doesn't have any built-in healing herself. Having her team support her in this regard will keep her on the field longer, especially in this sustain meta. So I tend to like to roll with heal received HP most of the time, but then using speed potentials, so she stays ahead of Joan. For her antique, Eternal Dawn is going to be the best choice to run on your Uriel, just because it gives her the best of all worlds. Damage depletion at 25%, so she's dodging any, you know, Nephilim passive skills that she can't like early, like she can't seal as early as we would want. The HP is also great, being a warrior and buffing herself 40% from her first passive skill. Just gonna give her high amounts. Look at this, 7 million. Oh wow. Let's come over here. You have your speed HP, and then also attack, so that she's doing more damage with her God's Punishment and with the other basic and active skills. In this regard here, your Eternal Dawn is going to keep Uriel out on the field much longer. Your other alternatives though, you do have your Black Magic Hat, you have your Invisible Cloak, which is probably going to be better, and you can also use Umbrella. That'll just increase her CC protection and give her attack and, you know, additional damage reduction, which in a perfect world would be better, but damage depletion to stop that HP loss is always going to be good. That leads us here to her armor abilities. Because she's using damage depletion from Eternal Dawn, I just added protection, so that when she takes hits 8 times at least, she'll add that extra 12% of damage depletion, taking her up to 37%, making her super tanky. You can also use Veteran if you're fighting a lot of CC or Mark effects, so that if she's taking damage and goes below the threshold, which here is like 50%, she'll clear everything and heal a little bit. But with Eternal Dawn being my favorite build, I like added protection. Next over here, for her potentials in PvP, I sometimes mix attack and HP, but when running her with Joan or Kratos and staying ahead, I do like having more speed on her. Looks like we're loading here. So you'll see here in some of the test videos that I have that she likes having her attack go before a Joan or a Kratos, so that she can then have the follow-up remnant built up on her, and that's going to be most of our PvPs for her team synergies, because I love using her with Joan. They just pair up so well. In PvE though, let's go back to this Uriel. I like using antiques such as Thorn's Heart, maybe this Eternal Dawn, and additional Chainblade Axe damage with this Armor Ignoring on the main one. But because Uriel doesn't really scale very much with her attack damage, it's always going to be a little bit low. So let's try this. I give her like attack, and then add more attack with these potentials over here. Always using backwaters. She's going to pack quite a lot of attack, and it's all going to be armor ignoring. This makes her ideal for Guild Boss 61. You can use her in Sanctuary to limited effect. but taking her into practical works is not going to be as ideal. Since I have 2, let's see here, I'll add precision on this one. Well, you can use attack, crit, armor break attack, precision attack, you know, anything that just enhances her, except for holy attack. You don't need that one. This is going to help her do a little bit more damage than she would be used to in PvP. Just because in PvP she's trying to stay alive and stay ahead of the enemy team when dropping her scars and trial Belinus. Holy damage doesn't really scale that well. That's over here. Let's give her a Thorn's Heart. And give her some more attack. I'll just literally deploy the 2 Uriels together. Give them coordination. How about that? Let's come over here. This one's got the Chainblade Axe. Guess we'll fill her up with the full Angel set. And this one can just keep that armor set. Sure, why not? Let's come over here to practical works. I haven't finished yet, but we'll see what they can do together, just real quick. We'll give them... how about notepads, just so that it's just showing you the base. In case it gets done, they do have their baptism on. But we're going to skip through this. They're going to do their attacks on there. Not that very high. They don't really scale much. So, well, these are decent numbers, sure. You're not going to really expect clearing practical works or doing massive damage against bosses with her in PvE. She's mainly there for the CC support most of the time. So this was just on the level 1. She only did like 26%. So do use caution when trying to take her into PvE. She's mainly a PvP girl. Nice little anti-meta option in our current state. So let's go back to the menu. So that was the potentials there. Then I wanted to cover the elite skills over here. The best one, and like I mentioned earlier, to really work on her as soon as you get your Uriel, is God's Punishment, so that she has that extra opportunity to attach scars of Belinus and also increase her damage she does to the entire enemy team, which is great. Next, her active skill, so she's doing, let's see here, like 330%. Yeah, 330% against the random target, 2 to 4 times. You know, it's gonna be a hefty amount. The basic will then also go up to 330, so that can be like the 3rd one you look at, God's Gaze. And then finally God's Descent, so that she's adding more to her HP and more to her holy damage. It's gonna be 3% for both. It's kind of weak in my opinion, but it's still there if you want to add more HP and make her even more tanky. That's gonna be a good option. So as a single Uriel on your team, you're going to see that she does a pretty good job of attaching the scars to her enemies. Let's just give her Joan back her armor. I tend to run these just with, you know, regular angel sets, but I keep their Eternal Dawns on them, because why not? When running her with Joan, I like having speed on her. And then go back to our other Uriel. Give her the correct potentials, more speed. If I had more warrior sets, I definitely would use them and give her like attack or more HP. But because our Joan has the set and they have just about the same amount of speed, I need to be using speed potentials to stay ahead. So we'll give her the Dawn. Alright, and it does balance out pretty well here. I think I have the crystal still set. Let's give her here received. So see, it's about 100,000 attack. So she's not really doing much damage most of the time. Because I do have the damage potential set. We'll keep precision attack on her, just so you can kind of see it. And then finally here, you have their skins, which this week we got another beautiful one. Thank you, Yuki, so much. You've seen it here on the side of the screen. But her Christmas skin gives her HP, attack, and holy damage, which is not bad. It looks great. But her other skin over here, the Private Trainer one, gives her damage reduction, immune control, and +4 speed. So we see here she's having more CC immune and her damage reduction. Where did they move that to? Oh, here's up to 36. Looks perfect to me. And then a little bit more speed is always better. So let's come over here we're going to just quickly attack someone on the friends list. Who should we attack? Let's pick on Miyuki here real quick. He's got 3 Nephilums, 2 Vivians, and an Apatite. So we'll use our own Apatite, the 2 Uriels here, and 1 Nephilim. Why not? So let's go and just see her here real quick. There will be another breakdown of how Uriel does in PvP from just one of the recorded clips I have. So we'll see that in action. So here we are. We have the faster Apatite at the moment. Our Uriel's still a bit slower than Vivian's, but here they go. As you can see, the little marks are floating on top of the Apatite and the Nephilim. They didn't really attach any that time, but here goes Uriel. And the second one, so we have a few scars, and this Nephilim over here was sealed, but I believe she had it cleared. We're in round 3. We're not really seeing a lot floating around this time, but as you can see here, now we have much more Nephilims that are sealed up. They're not doing any healing or any damage at the end of the round. When your Uriels here seal the Vivians then don't trigger their speed reduce or energy reduce at the end of the round. And that makes Uriel great support for girls like Joan, even Esto, who's brand new, your Mikas, or even Von Helsing in that case, and especially Kratos, and keeps them up to energy. What I'd like to do as well is put that damage dealer up in front 1 so that the Vivians can hit them back. So it looks like here we lost a Vivian of our own. But what's also kind of funny is, as Apatite tends to dodge attacks, Uriel being able to hit the entire enemy team with a passive cannot be dodged, so the Apatite will take damage. This match here was definitely carried by Apatite, but over here you can see that the enemy Nephilims for the most part did less damage because they couldn't trigger that end of round little attack hit that hits all enemies and for like a percentage of their own attack, and they also couldn't heal. So over here you'll see much more healing from our own Nephilim compared to Miyuki's on his team. They all did much less healing to themselves. One, because there are the healing debuff getting thrown out there, but then you also have Uriel seals that just stop them from healing at the end of the round. Ours did the 18 million, which is more than these 3 combined. So that was kind of interesting. Nice little breakdown of just how that attack went. I know some folks like to see some against a Fenrir. See who's got a Fenrir. They don't. He has 2 Uriels as well, and these matches are kind of fun to watch. Let's actually fight that one. That's Mr. Kirisuda. He's super cool in our cluster. You see we have a lot of competition here between 2 guilds. Kirisuda, I'm very lucky to have him in our guild for Immortals. Let's see here. Seems like we also have the faster Apatite in the moment, and they smack our Nephilim. But with 2 Uriels on each side, it rains seals on both sides. A lot. So here we go. We have their Uriel seals. So now she's not triggering her passive anymore. Although she not cleared it. Rip. Our Uriel sealed over here. So you'll see she's going to attack and does not follow up because she is sealed. And over here, 2 Nephilims are sealed, so they're not healing or doing damage to our team at the end of the round. We finally get an active off. Here we go. Their entire team is sealed now, but their Apatite is about to resurrect. See if we're still faster. Yes, we are. Wow, no marks. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, though. You saw how so many seals are going off on both sides. I think Kirisuda has his Uriel set to more damage. Mine's being more tanky and set for healing and just deploying their scars and trials. We're able to last a bit longer in this match. And as you can see here, their damage isn't as high because they're not aggressive. They just want to live. And these kind of got defeated a little bit earlier in the battle. My Nephilim kept getting hit by the Apatite, so she didn't really trigger marks at all early, but theirs did more damage. But their healing was very low. The Uriels kept them sealed. They barely did any damage. So this is a nice little example of how you see Uriel impacting the performance of Nephilim. So let me confirm here. The takeaway with Uriel is that she's great for PvP, but she's not going to help your farming for more resources as double or a single. So that was the double one that you saw in the performance. So now let's look at single Uriel on a team, which is the most important part. He removed his team. Let's see who we can look at. Someone that has a double Vivian at least, so you can see like a little test here. I think Seshi over here has a good team. Yeah, so he's got a Kratos on it for his damaged girl. So let's go. We'll take away this Uriel, keep our Christmas one, put Joan in F1, keep our Apate there. Let's see how this plays out. You'll see that one Uriel can still really deploy her marks and scars of Belinus, but it takes a little bit to get going. You might not see them round 1 or round 2, but they'll start stacking up after like round 3-ish. Alright, so there we go. Our Jones really get it taking a beating there. But we're gonna get 2 Vivian actives. Let's see how this goes. She should see some healing. Oh, she actually defeated herself. Wow, this is going to be a bit of an interesting. See if Uriel can carry this. With Apate, Joan just died. Oh, wow. Alright, see there, their Kratos just got energy drained. She's hitting her Apate. You see the scars here are floating. Uriel did not attach any larger trials, even though these do sit here. But notice how Baptism and Purify are not clearing them off. They just sit there forever. Wow, we're actually making a comeback even though our Joan died. And she's doing her 4 full attacks here. And the Nephilems are sealed. And they stay sealed. Wow, look at that. They're not going to heal. They're not going to do much damage back to us. They're just sitting ducks. Because they haven't even deployed their active skill. This one, oh, no active skill, no passives. Those Nephilems are just sitting ducks this time. Check it out. And they have little scars on top, so Uriel's still feeding the full trials on them. So let's see here. That Nephilem might kill herself. She did because she was marked with Apate. And this one's just going to stay there as a sitting duck. But now their Apate's back, so this match is going to get extended a little longer. She's got a little Nephilim mark, so she just defeated herself. Look at how these girls are missing. Uriel actually hit her, did some damage. What you will also notice is that when Apate or some girl that revives is sealed, it does not stop death passives, I should say. So Raphael, if she's sealed and dies, she will still heal. Apate is sealed and she dies, she will go into her little Volos void mark and revive back later. So we're not going to be able to stop that. Over here, 13 million was not too shabby. We're beating out these Vivians anyways. Our Joan died pretty early, so we didn't see that much. But over here, the healing was incredible. They were able to help out our Uriel because if she was taking too much damage, come back. But over here, you can see how this Nephilim barely healed. This Nephilim also barely healed as well compared to ours. So you can see that one single Uriel still has a place as a support to your main DPS, even though in this case our main DPS did die a bit early. So there will be more PvP videos coming up with the double Uriels. Here you got a little taste of what our part 2 is going to have, but in this full like little review, I was mainly just using the solo Uriel here with the HP heal receive, so she stays in the fight longer, so she can deploy all of her scars and all of her trials. So I hope this video helps bring up some extra strategies that you can look for with your Uriel as a CC support. It's like a sub DPS girl for your main damage dealer. You can use 2 Nephilems and your 1 Uriel on your main support team, but most meta teams that you do have to look out for will most likely be having 1 Apate and 2 Vivians, sometimes even 3 Vivians. So having Uriel in there still helps slow that down so you can burst them down, like in some of the upcoming little videos we're going to have. So stay tuned everyone, there will be a part 2 releasing very soon, and it's going to show off more PvP comparisons between the 1 Uriel and 2. I hope you absolutely enjoyed this video. If you're looking to build your own Uriel and have any ideas for how you want to set it up, or have other suggestions that I could also take into account for part 2, be sure to leave those down in the comments. I absolutely love hearing your feedback. And if you found this video very helpful with the information, I would always appreciate a like or even a subscription, just so you can stay tuned to these informational videos. So of course, everyone, I hope you enjoy your week. Have the best of luck pulling your capsules and emeralds for this week. And of course, remember, happy gaming.
今度はどんな冒険が待っているのでしょう。お星様、どうか私を導いてください。お星様、どうか私を導いてください。少し本気を出すわ。少し本気を出すわ。日の光のもと、懺悔するがいい。二十歳の歌声で踊りなさい。問答無用、カオス殲滅。